Be a lifelong student. We've heard this many times. It means that learning never stops and you have to continuously invest time in your learning, taking time out to read, learn more and more things. But the question that I get most of the time is, many of us do not know what subject to choose, what to read about, and most importantly, how to make time for reading. And before I move on, I want to tell you about my ebook called The Career Guide. It is a simple step-by-step approach, a step-by-step guide which has simple tips and tricks that you can implement in your career and achieve higher success. This ebook is available for free, absolutely free, on my website www.animukundan.com. The link of this ebook is also mentioned in the description box below. Moving on to today's topic, which is reading or learning best practices. So if you want to, or if you're aspiring for career growth, the first and important thing to remember is you cannot be complacent. Remember, what got you here will not get you there, right? It's an important learning that I learned very early on in my career. So whatever level of success that you've achieved so far, great, amazing, kudos to you, and good job done, right? But if you want to continue to see growth, you will have to operate at the next level. If you have to see continued success, you need to invest time in yourself. Yeah, because as I said, what got you here will not get you there, right? Okay, so the next question that comes, usually that people ask me is, I'm not really sure of what subject to choose, what to do, what to learn. So I think it is very, very important to understand that no matter what stage of career you are, whether you are at the start of your career, or you're a mid-career professional, or you are a CEO of the company, it is important to have a learning map. Yes, I learned this idea of having a learning map from one of the conversations, one of the meetings that I had with one of the leaders in the industry. She's an amazing woman who's seen great success in her career. And in my conversation, I was privileged to have this conversation with her. In that conversation, she told me about a learning map that she had. And that was a great moment for me to understand that, at that level too, they have a learning map. So what is it that, or how is it that you can create your own learning map, right? So let me share an idea with you, or simple technique with you. You can divide the subjects in 3 categories. Okay, the first one is your direct area of work, right? So let's say if I talk about myself, I'm an HR professional. So for me, I need to first categorize. The first category will be my direct area of work, which is HR, human resources, and I need to get in-depth knowledge about this subject. So what are the best practices in the industry? What are the subjects? What are the certifications? What are the laws? Everything related to my area of work. And that's how I can become an expert in my field. So the first category has to be your area of work, your direct area of work, right? The second category, the second one is not probably the direct area of work, but something that you contribute to. So for example, I am an HR professional, and let's say I'm working in a banking sector. So I need to have an understanding of the banking industry. Yeah, so it is not my direct subject, but I am directly contributing to this, right? So the second category will be your indirect area of work, but where you're directly contributing. Yeah, indirect subject, but where you're directly contributing. All right, and the third one, very, very important, is your area of interest. So for example, I am very interested in psychology, mindset. So the third area for me is mindset and psychology, or my area of interest. Whatever your area of interest is, that becomes your third category. Okay, so once you define the 3 categories, and then accordingly you'll have to put the subjects. It can be articles that you read, it can be books that you read, you can speak to your friends, you can understand, you can through your network sometimes you get to hear certain topics, words, and then you can come back, research about it, and buy those books or read those articles or listen to podcasts, right? So these 3 categories will really help you get clarity on what is it that you want to invest time in and how much time you want to invest in each of these areas. Okay, now the next aspect is, when do you take out time, or how do you take out time? Honestly, it is difficult, I understand, especially as career women. Now while speaking to a lot of women, they said, we have to pick up kids from school, we have to come back home, and we have to prepare for lunch, and then we have to log in, and we have to get up early in the morning to kind of make the tiffin. That is what they said, that it's difficult to take time out. And now things have changed completely, because now you don't have to pick up kids, but the kids are all at home because of this pandemic situation, and things have doubled up for us because the kids have online school, they have online assessments, we have meetings, everybody's at home. So it becomes very difficult to take time out, right? Now, as I said, if you really want to grow in your career, like you take time out to cook lunch, breakfast, lunch, dinner, like you take time out for other important chores, consider this as an absolute necessity. Right? The minute you treat this as a priority and an absolute necessity, like you have, as I said, you have to have your meal irrespective of whatever. You will take time out to have your meal. The same way, or you will have to take time out for reading. So the best way I found is, the best time in fact, is when my kids are sleeping. So I get up a little early in the morning, and because of COVID, they are at home, so they get up a little late. So I'm happy with that they're getting up late, which gives me some time to read. So I have set around 30 minutes daily, and it's there. I put on my timer. Why do I put on a timer? Because before they get up, I have to do a set of things. I have to keep the breakfast ready, I have to keep the milk ready, breakfast ready, everything ready. I have to clean and mop because we do not there's no help right now available. I have to sweep, mop everything, and I have to take time out for reading, and I have to take time out for my exercise and stretches too. So I have kind of blocked time, and I have a timer that is there. So I started with 20 minutes and then I gradually moved it to 30 minutes. So I have a timer set on my mobile phone. 30 minutes is there. I pick up my book, either I read or I read an article, or I pick up a physical book, and the timer is on, and I know that I can, without any stress, read. I don't have to take a look at the watch or keep a count of time, because the timer will go off and I will know that my reading time is over. The next important aspect is, how do you remember what you have learned, right? So we keep reading so many things, so many articles, so many books that we read. How do we remember all of that? So initially, when I used to read a physical book, I used to underline whatever I had read. But what I realized is that after underlining, I close the book and keep it back on the shelf. Okay, and then I had to go back and refer to that book, and so it wasn't very easy. And many a times I will just remember it in my mind, and like a mind map, it was there on my mind, but I've not made a note of it anywhere. So that's when I started maintaining a diary. It is my reading diary, which I keep with me irrespective of if I'm reading a physical book or I am reading an article online, whatever it is, I keep my diary handy. So whenever I find something important, interesting, when in a physical book, I definitely underline it. I also make a note of it, and I also give a reference of that quote, or a reference of that extract. I write the name of the book in that diary, and I write whatever is there in short, and I keep that page number and the reference of the book, so that if I want to read in depth about it, I know where I can find it. If I'm reading something online, again I make a note of it. I write it down, and what I also do is I have a notepad which is there on my desktop. On that desktop I copy and paste that URL, that link of that article. So I have written the important point in my book, and I have written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. I have organized that notepad, and in that, so if let's say it's point number 5 is that URL, okay, URL of the best practices in the HR industry. So I found that article very interesting. I picked up 2 or 3 points from that, and I wrote it in my diary. And on the notepad I will copy that URL, and it's point number 5 on the notepad. So I will write in my notepad against those key takeaways, it's point number 5 on the notepad. So it becomes like easy reference. If I have to go back and do an in-depth study, I can refer to that URL which is there on my desktop. So this has become like my treasure diary, which is there with me, which comes handy. And again, this is it has 3 categories. The first part is the first category, which is my direct knowledge, my direct area of work, and the second one is the indirect area of work, but where I contribute directly, and the mindset, or the third, which is my area of interest, which is mindset and psychology, which is third one, which is the area of interest, right? So that is how I have categorized this book. So it becomes it's like a holy grail for me, if I may say so. I refer to this, it becomes very, very useful, it comes handy, and I have all the references here, and a lot of ideas. So a lot of times the articles that I share, the videos that I talk, the content that I share in my videos, all of that is there in this book. So that's how I get my ideas, right? So do let me know, what do you feel? So it's all there in my book, right?